What is up, my friends? How are we? It is Thursday night. You are very welcome onto the Late Night Agenda. And immediately, I have an answer to a question in the chat. Somebody said, I feel like Craig's a very good hugger, big bro and all. Mate, I'm a great hugger. I love a hug, me. Yeah, definitely. When I meet people, it's a handshake and a hug. That's always the way. So yes, I am definitely a good hugger. Although my wife doesn't think we cuddle enough. But that's a different conversation. Loads to get through tonight, my friends. From the news that Pep Guardiola has signed a 2-year contract extension, not a 1+1, a 2-year contract extension with Manchester City. We'll get stuck into what that might mean. Firstly though, Doreen, thank you so much. I think 16 months as a member, if I'm not mistaken. Really appreciate it. Said, another great month with this great community, and thank you, Doreen, so much for your support. What an incredible length of time you've been with us as a member and of course as a viewer, so thank you so much. So yeah, we good? I'm in great form today and I hope everybody else is. Have you treated yourself to anything in the Black Friday sales on Amazon or anything yet? I'm a bit of a ninja nonce with regards to the ninja products. I got myself some more ninja stuff today because not expensive stuff, just a couple of bacon trays and stuff, but if it says ninja on it, I'm there. Cold weather. Oh, mate, it's freezing, Colin. Do you know what? On the cold weather, I'll give you a bit of a laugh, right? We were going to bring the dog out for a bit of a walk earlier on, Harvey, and his bougie little backside won't go outside without his jacket on because it's too cold. So Sabrina couldn't get him out first time, had to put his jacket on him, and then he was willing to venture out into the cold night air. So, yes, my dog is very much too soft. Arian said, I'm great. Craig, I'm down 10 pounds in a week, ready for my first rugby game as the A team. Well in, mate, well in. Yes, proud of anybody who goes on a bit of a weight loss journey, and yeah, well done to you. So look, we've loads to get through tonight. There's been some links to Kubo in the media from Spain, which I'm not really believing, to be honest with you. We're going to speak about a transfer battle that Liverpool could be going with over a Brentford player. We're going to be talking a little bit about Milos Kerkez again, some stuff on Murillo from Nottingham Forest. The confirmations we said about Guardiola's contract situation. We have got official confirmation that the votes are in and Mohamed Salah is the best player in the Premier League. That's not my words though, that's from the Premier League themselves, so we'll get into that. We'll give you some comments from former chairman Peter Moore around the contract situations. We're also going to be speaking about why are the media taking some cheap shots at Jurgen recently, because more stuff over the last day or two I've seen come out as well, and I'm wondering about it, to be honest. Also a little bit from the PGMOL around the latest in the David Coote situation, and also some words from Dr. Ian Graham around signing Andy Robertson. So yes, loads tonight, my friends, on top of course, whatever it is that you guys would like me to discuss. Let's get stuck into it. So, preview is coming out tomorrow morning for the Southampton game, and my God, it felt like a long time since I put a preview together, so very excited. Reminder, that's on Sunday. It's a 2 p.m. kickoff, and then after that, United's first game with Amarin will be there, so I'm sure many of you will be tuning in to see what goes on with that one. Hopefully it's a car crash moment. Mike, how are you, sir? And thank you for 11 months with us as a member. Mike said, big up the Anfield Agenda family. Here for my nightly fix. Nice. Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you. So look, where do you want me to start off tonight? We can go into the David Coote stuff. We can get into the Guardiola contract stuff, what that means. Again, up to you guys. Whatever you'd like to talk about. And I've got more Mohamed Salah stuff as well. Not contract related, unfortunately, but a few interesting numbers as well. So that is exactly it, Nevlin. Thank you. You've done it for me, bro. Appreciate you. So Nevlin said, Salah fells against 168, Jack Grealish 168 in 2019. So on that, to kind of back up what Nevlin has said there, so Footy Accumulators posted earlier on to say, this stat doesn't even sound real. Mohamed Salah has been fouled 168 times in the Premier League since he joined Liverpool in 2018. This is the same amount of free kicks, pens that Jack Grealish received in one single Premier League season during 2019-20. So you can take from that one of two things. What I choose to take from it is, once again, it shows that Mohamed Salah is not getting any protection from referees, but very much that Jack Grealish gets everything every time he falls to the ground. That's what I take from that one. It is a mad one, isn't it? I like everybody else, I had to double take when I seen that initial stat brought up. Andre said, "Coot, let's talk about it." Okie dokie. Right, let me get the notes up here for you, bro. So there was a statement from the PGMOL around David Coote. It is a short one, so don't be expecting it to be too in-depth. Just said, on Thursday, the PGMOL issued an update via their spokesperson, and it said, "We are following an internal process and taking the allegations into David Coote's conduct very seriously as part of our ongoing full and thorough investigation. Whilst David remains suspended, his welfare continues to be important to us, and he is aware of the support network available to him." So, as I said, no real earth-shattering news there, but again, the investigation is still ongoing. And look, I know it's easy for us to be angry in this situation, and we should be, but there is a human being involved in it as well. So I like that last line, that David Coote is aware that there is a support network there for him, because as much as we are angry at the situation, we don't know how he is feeling, and he is a human being. So I would always say, good to see that he has a support network there and available to him, because, you know, I'm sure it's been a difficult, albeit self-imposed headache, still a difficult one nonetheless. Ryan, how are you? So good evening, everyone. I hope all is good. Craig, I hope you're okay. I'm one happy bunny to be promoted as a suicide prevention officer. Well done to you, mate. That is a fine job, and I wish you nothing but success with it, and I'm sure you're going to help many people along the way, Ryan. So well done to you, sir. If really officially, then FSG sign Mo for another 2-3 year contract, says Moja. Yeah, look, the contract situation is an interesting one, is an annoying one, and everybody still says the same thing. The club are working on it, the club are working on it, the club are working on it. But unfortunately, as of yet, we haven't really seen a breakthrough there. Now, former Liverpool Chief Executive Peter Moore said, "I don't know what's going to happen, but it is Trent, it's Mo, it's Virgil, and it's hard to imagine any of those leaving Liverpool. I know ownership is working feverishly to get deals done with all three, whether it is all three, two of the three, one of the three, or none of the three, I don't know." So it's kind of something and nothing there from Peter Moore. Just, again, speaking about the fact the club are working on these deals, but he has no idea if 1, 2, 3 or none of the lads will be renewed. So kind of something and nothing there from Peter Moore. Roosba, how are you, my friend? And again, thank you for your super chat, bro. So people who think Arsenal still in this title race have probably consumed some white powder recently. See, it is a difficult one, mate, because if we were in Arsenal's shoes, I wouldn't be thinking we're in a title race 9 points off the leaders at this point. I'd be pushing the panic button, in all honesty, mate. You know, if Liverpool were expected to be going in and challenging for a title and we found ourselves already 9 points adrift of the leaders, whoever that leader might be, I would find myself pretty frustrated with that. Now, of course, for us, it's a bit of a free hit this season. My expectation and my hope was for Arne Slot just to beat the points tally from last year and make sure that we qualify for the Champions League. So for us, this feels like a dream start to life under Arne Slot. But yeah, it is a tough one. Look, it's not for me to say what other people think. You know, we can all have our own opinions. I don't think at this point Arsenal should be spoken about in a title race, because we haven't seen anything to suggest that they're going to put together 13, 14, 15 runs, of winning games. So, you know, if they start to pick up points, if they start to shorten that gap, then of course we'll revisit this situation. But right now, I'm just looking at Liverpool, Man City, and hoping we can increase that 5 point gap when we play Manchester City next week. Look, I do feel Arsenal will bounce back, by the way. You know, I do feel like their start of the season is poorer than probably the quality of that squad shows. But again, it is about picking up those points, and we know City are probably going to come strong second half of the season. They normally do. And that news around Pep Guardiola's contract extension, I'm sure, will be a shot in the arm to those players. There's also talk that City are trying to tie Erling Haaland down to a new, I think, 4-year, £100 million contract, which would put him on about 500 grand a week, according to some reports last night. So, you know, maybe this is City trying to tie down Haaland, trying to maybe lure some signings in with the stability of knowing that Guardiola is going to be there. Now, also, really interesting about that Pep Guardiola contract extension has been pointed out by many people, is that there's no break clause in there. There's no relegation clause in there. But it's also very important to point out one thing, and it's been pointed out by Sky and others as well. Pep Guardiola will leave when he wants to leave, contract or no contract. If he turns round and Manchester City are found guilty of the charges and he feels like he's been lied to by the ownership, he'll walk. It's going to be as simple as that. And whether he has to pay out his own contract or not, it is very clear that when Guardiola decides it's time up at Man City, then it's time up at Man City. So I'm interested to see how the reaction's going to be when these charges are eventually dealt with. And actually, on those charges, there is a few things I wanted to bring up on this. 1 second. Where's my notes on this one? Bear with me. Okay. Actually, I don't have it in my notes about the charges. Sorry, apologies. But yes, we know that we're waiting those charges to be heard. Actually, I do have some on my notes here because I'm preparing for my chat with Lee on Monday about Manchester City, so I do have some stuff on my notes, so bear with me. Right, so the charges for Manchester City unbelievably cover a period from 2009 all the way up to 2022-23. It's crazy. So I'm very interested to see, will Guardiola stick around if they do get found guilty of those charges? Reports suggest City will not be charged. Do they, though? I mean, I've not seen a report to say City won't be charged, mate. I've not seen a report to say... Well, actually, it's important we point out they've already been charged. This is just a case of whether they're going to be innocent or guilty. Now, unlike the situation with UEFA, this can't be appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, although it can be appealed. And also, unlike UEFA's situation, there is no time barring of this. So we know Manchester City got off some of those charges previously because they were time barred. There's no such thing with the Premier League. They can go back as far as they want. There is no 6 or 7 year statute of limitations on how long back they can investigate. So one thing that keeps coming up, by the way, with people about this situation is everybody that is pro Manchester City stance, or that feels like perhaps they're not going to be punished. One thing that keeps popping up is people saying, well, the Premier League won't want their leading team, their standard bearers, their high-flying champions to be found guilty and held to account. And I think people genuinely forget one important aspect here. The Premier League is run by the 20 clubs inside the Premier League. They are all shareholders of it. You cannot and will not be able to just stick two fingers up to the 19 other clubs and bow down to Manchester City or Liverpool or Manchester United or any other team, because you have to think of the other 19 teams and the way that the Premier League is structured. They will have to act accordingly and they will have to put their best foot forward, because it's not a great look for the Premier League in general. You've already got European leagues moaning at the money that's in the Premier League. If they feel like the Premier League is also maybe letting City off a bit lightly, I don't think that works out well. So I've always been unsure of what happens, but I've always felt confident that there is going to be a proper investigation, and it won't just be a case of, everyone shrugs their shoulders, because United are looking at this interestingly, Liverpool are looking at it interestingly, Arsenal and any other club. So we'll wait and see what happens with it, but we are getting closer and closer now to a time where perhaps we do get those bits of news. What's this Connor's just sent me? Cool. Another transfer link I'll bring up there in a second. Right, I have some super chats to get through because I've missed a couple, so bear with me. Right, first one up from Mahmood, and thank you, bro. Said, would you take another 2-5 at Anfield against Real Madrid, or 5-2 at Anfield against Real Madrid, if that meant we win against City on Sunday? So I have said all week, I don't mind if we had to drop points, it would be the Real Madrid game over the City game, 100%. We need to get a result in that City game. We have a bit of wiggle room in the Champions League. I'll never happily see Liverpool not win a game of football, mate. But in your hypothetical scenario, look, if I had to pick a win in one of the two, it's the league game against City, because it has more of an impact, I think, on our season. Dr. or Mr. Darwin, 8845, thank you for your super chat, said, might there be something to Virgil's injury? Not that I'm aware of. Truly, I feel like he was just sent home to get a rest because it was a dead rubber for the Netherlands against Serbia. So I guess we'll find out in Arne Slot's press conference tomorrow. I'm interested to hear about Alisson as well. But yeah, truth is I don't know. But I don't think so. I've not seen anything to actually say he's injured. Michael Burns said, if Liverpool beat City at Anfield, the league is ours. Well, it would take a bit of a capitulation, wouldn't it? You know, because if we beat City at Anfield, that's 8 points. We'd be ahead of City. We'd still maintain that gap over Arsenal. And we will have played each of those two teams once. Obviously, Arsenal at the Emirates and then City at Anfield. So I said the same, mate. For me, if Liverpool beat City and go 8 points clear, we are absolutely 100% bona fide favourites to win the league. Now, it doesn't mean we will absolutely do it, but I'll really be believing we will at that point. Pundits on Sky will tip Man City for the title. Do you know what? Even when I spoke with Darren McAnthony, and that went up earlier today, by the way, and thank you for the feedback on it. Appreciate you. And Stevie Richards, if you're watching, mate, I can see that you're still bitter in your comments after being banned all those years ago for acting up. Now you've just made multiple accounts to come in and start slandering me in the comments. I find this hilarious. So if you are watching, mate, thanks for watching. Keep watching, but I don't know where the bad blood came from you, mate. I really don't. Right, Liverpool, where have we got? So what was it? Yes, Darren McAnthony. So even he thinks City will probably still end up winning the league by 4 or 5 points. I don't, because I don't think this is the same City. In other seasons, I probably would have agreed. Yeah, this is an early lead for us. Maybe City will claw it back, but I really just don't see that they're the same beast this season. They've got De Bruyne, who's at the tail end of his career. They've got Haaland, who is brilliant, obviously. But after that, I think they just don't look the same. They don't seem as intimidating to me. They don't seem as all-conquering to me. And I don't think they even have as much of a fear factor about them anymore. So, you know, let's wait and see. Sporting beat them comfortably. They've lost 4 of the last 4 in all competitions. But they will be a wounded animal as well. And Guardiola will certainly look for a reaction after signing that contract extension. Big Virgil just needed a nap, said Super556. I think Chelsea or Chiesa will feature against either City or Real Madrid and score, said Troy. Still don't know, mate, what to expect there, which is why Arne Slot's presser tomorrow is going to be interesting. We'll get an update on Elliott, on Alisson, on Chiesa, and of course on Diogo Jota as well. Right, so Connor just sent me something that's kind of taken me by surprise. So he said this from Ben Bosak via Anfield Sector, and it said, Liverpool are closely monitoring the situation of Desire Doué with him being highly regarded by the club scouts. Somebody help me out on this. I have no idea who this PSG lad is. Honestly, I'm almost embarrassed that I've never heard of him. So, Desire Doué, D-O-U-E. Apparently Liverpool are being linked with him. Is anybody able to tell me anything about him? Because I know literally nothing. Didn't even know he existed until this was sent to me. So, yeah, let's wait and see. But any help you guys can give me on that, I appreciate. So people are saying reports that Virgil signed a new deal. I'm going to ask where those reports come from. Because if it's from an indicator or one of those, I mean, we've seen this weeks ago and still hasn't come to fruition. So, you know, I would say be very careful where you believe the stuff from. Now, I know sometimes we come on here and I speak about fichajes and I speak about a few bits and pieces and I don't believe the links. I just feel like I have to bring them to people and discuss them because it is Liverpool news. I know people think that I believe every story that we put up. I don't, but, you know, sometimes you just got to bring the news to people and let them make up their own mind. Indy said it. Well, then you can put that in the absolute horseshit category. Right, so some comments on this this youngster from PSG. Not a Scooby, mate, said Nazar. Same as me, bro. David said he's overrated. Morgan C said winger, I think. He's a proper talent, said Super556. French winger for PSG, said G. Thank you, mate. Craig, what do you think about Carlos Baleba? Said Quinil. Looks like a really good talent, mate. Have actually got a bit of insight on him because I've been looking into him a bit since we've been linked. The thing that would worry me there is we know unless there's a release clause in a Brighton player's contract that they're going to want top dollar. Tony Bloom has been very good about bringing in great players and selling them on for great money. So he is certainly somebody that Liverpool have looked at. I'm not sure if David Lynch confirmed that, but I think he did confirm that he was at least being monitored. He's only in about a year, I think, from France into Brighton. I think they paid about 22 or 23 million quid for him. But yeah, he's certainly somebody worth keeping an eye on. And not just us. I think there's other clubs at the top of the Premier League who are having a look there as well. Barry said, if he's the former Lille player, he is tasty but needs a bit of work. Can't see it. Let me just have a look at this. Yeah, Mark just sent me that Indicala story. Look, I'd love it to be true. I very much hope it is true, but I'm going to need a proper journalist to be letting us know about the Virgil stuff. GDem said, would rather Barcola than him, to be honest, Craig. Are you and Indy mates? No. Indicala isn't the person, by the way. That account's changed hands, to my knowledge, twice. I don't actually know who does run it and own it, to be honest with you. I have no idea. But no, certainly wouldn't be mates because I don't know anybody that runs the account. But it isn't a guy who's a journalist. Like it's a group. The account's changed hands a few times that I'm aware of. Feels like it's been months since a Liverpool game, said Troy. It does, mate. It does. Right, so, Murillo. Nottingham Forest will demand in excess of £70 million for defender Murillo, who's wanted by Liverpool. This link has been there for a while, but I cannot see Liverpool spending £70 million on a centre-back. Because, with all due respect to Murillo, who looks like a good player, when we paid that money for Van Dijk, we knew what we were getting. We knew that we were getting a top talent. Somebody who, you know, we probably should have signed from Celtic before he even went to Southampton. I don't know if Murillo's a £70 million centre-back. I haven't seen enough of him to justify that. And also, if we take it for a second that Virgil is going to sign a contract extension, which of course we all hope for, I don't see us then spending that much money to bring in somebody who's, going to be on the bench. Because Canade and Virgil are the partnership. Kwanzaa is the youngster coming through, and Gomez is, of course, the jack of all trades. So Alfie said, start Kelleher for Southampton. Opinions. I would, but in my prediction, I've put in Alisson because I believe that's what's going to happen. If Alisson's fit, Arne Slot has said he's the number one, and when he's fit, he comes back in. So, you know, we'll wait for the presser. In my preview, though, I have put Alisson in goal because I think that's going to happen. I do feel it's harsh on Kelleher, but, you know, it also is what it is. Two great goalkeepers, though, so a good headache to have. Troy King said, Murillo isn't worth 70 mil. Mehdi asked, how do you feel about Cherky? I feel like he's a solid player, but the way he plays, I don't believe he could do it in the Prem. Very skillful. Hope he proves me wrong if he moves over. So on him, let's talk about him for a minute then, because there was a little piece in the Echo, I think, basically saying, who is he? So I have a little bit of a fact file here from them, where we'll talk about him a little bit, because I'm playing catch up on Ryan Cherky, as I've said. I've not watched much of him. I haven't watched much of Lyon. So he's a 21-year-old playmaker who's been with Lyon since 2010 when he was just 7 years of age. Since then, he's progressed through the club's academy before eventually making his Ligue 1 debut at the age of 16 in October 2019. He's been widely tipped for a bright future in the game and to follow in the footsteps of Eden Hazard and Hatem Ben Arfa. Now, he can play on either wing or as a number 10. That is the extent of what I know, other than the price tag, which seems about £20 to £25 million. that's where we're at. Liverpool have been credited with interest there in a few different newspapers. Lyon are in financial mess, so they have to, sell some players. So maybe, I don't know enough about him to say whether he's going to be good or bad, or whether it's worth the money or not. I have no idea, because I don't know much about the guy at all. Finty, let me get your comment up, mate. Finty Tin said, we need payback, not playback. We need payback against Real Madrid, though. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, mate. I very much want us to get a result there. But in that hypothetical scenario earlier on, it was, would you take this for this? But trust me, mate, I'm ready for that game Wednesday. I'm going to be screaming the boys on to get that result, because you're right, we owe them one. Corbin 2003 said, is Slot breaking Premier League record, winning it in the first season? I hope he does. Simon Hughes wrote a good piece in The Athletic saying basically, don't be afraid to be title favourites, and Liverpool shouldn't be afraid of the idea of going and winning it in Arne Slot's first season. And I can get right behind that, because that's exactly how I feel. I know people didn't think of us initially as title contenders when Arne came in, but right now we've every right to think about us being title contenders, because the proof of the pudding's in the eating. 17 games played, 15 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Not too bleeding shabby. Waturo Endo said his idol was Javier Mascherano. Yeah, good player, good idol to have. Why not employ the Brighton scouts? They're unreal. Because it's not just scouting with Brighton. There's a lot of data. So Tony Bloom basically made some of his money, or a lot of his money, from betting. He found a way to find an edge in certain betting markets and set his company up around that and made a fortune doing it. And then he's turned that towards the football world as well. And as we can see, he's had some good success there with Brighton. Can't remember the last time Liverpool won against Madrid. It's been a while, mate. I thought we were going to do it at Anfield the last time when we raced into an early 2-goal lead, only for that to fall apart and, well, you know the rest. Cherky's supposed to have attitude problems, sound a bit dodge. Again, as I said, mate, I can't speak too much about Cherky because I don't know anything about him other than he plays in France. We've been linked with him and that's about it. But I would say we won't bring in somebody, and I don't know if he does, so I'm saying this hypothetically. We won't bring in somebody that's a troublemaker. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to destabilise the dressing room. So, the Ballon d'Or power rankings are in, as per goal. And any guesses who's number 1 in these power rankings? So, number 3, Rafinha of Barcelona. Number 2, Robert Lewandowski of Barcelona. And number 1, a certain young fella by the name of Mohamed Salah, who is, at the moment, top of the 2025 Ballon d'Or power rankings. And hopefully, Mo keeps the great form up. And hopefully we can have this conversation next year where we're all screaming for Mohamed Salah Ballon d'Or. A bit of success with Liverpool this year, and you never know. So, well done to Mo so far, but still a long way to go. Salon d'Or, exactly. That's what we did on our thumbnail earlier on, mate. Yes, we love a bit of a Salon d'Or. So, a crazy story caught my eye today, and it does come from Fichaje. So, again, massive pinch of salt. They say, via Transfer News Live, Liverpool are ready to pay £66.7 million, slightly above the release clause, to secure the signing of Takefusa Kubo. Now, here's why I don't believe this story. 1, I don't believe Kubo has shown anywhere near enough consistency to justify that move to Liverpool. 2, if we're looking around for forward additions at the minute, I feel like there is a lot better value out there, whether you are looking at Cherky at 2025, whether you're looking at Omar Marmoush to slot in across the front line at about 50-52. I find it very difficult to believe. Anytime Kubo's name has come up and I've spoken to journalists or people who are closer to the club about it, never heard any positive updates or any encouragement that Kubo might be somebody that Liverpool are really looking at. So, yeah, for me, I don't think so on that one. But Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Liverpool do appreciate Milos Kerkez, which, well done for that. Earth-shattering news there, Fabrizio. Whose minutes are you taking down for Kubo? Yeah, no one. It's just, there's better options, mate, for me. I just wouldn't be spending that money on Kubo. So I got to ask somebody, I got to ask you guys a question, because I come in for a little bit of flack about something, and I'm absolutely open to me being wrong on things, but I also like getting on my high horse about certain things, because, well, I look good on that high horse. So I have a question for you, and I'm going to put it to a poll. Let me write it out and I'll explain. 1 second. Right, so the question that I'm going to ask is, hypothetically, let's say we're going to sign Omar Marmoush. Now, you can insert any forward's name you want in there. It doesn't really matter for the purposes of this. So I'm going to ask you, you need to move a forward on to sign Omar Marmoush. Who are you moving on? And I'm going to give you some options. So, option number 1, Darwin. Option number 2, Jota. Option number 3, and option number 4, actually, do you know what? I'm going to change this one. So I'm giving you 4 options. Now, I'm not trying to say that these 4 people are under pressure at Liverpool. Nothing like that. But I want to see if I'm wrong about something. So you need to move somebody on. Who are you moving on? The options are going to be Darwin, Jota, Diaz, or Mo leaving on a free. I'll leave that running in the background. Now, the reason that I'm putting this up is lots of people are starting to try and make out that I have an agenda against Diogo Jota. And I've tried to explain my stance on the Diogo Jota potential transfer numerous times, and it comes down to availability. People were saying to me, Craig, David Lynch even told you this is a freak accident, but he's still out. And that's my point. To me, it doesn't matter if he stubs his toe or if Virgil falls on him. If he's unavailable for selection, I think that's a headache. And it's a headache that I don't think we can carry forward if we want to be competitive in multiple competitions. If you said to me Diogo Jota was going to be fit for an entire season, it's a very different conversation, because it's not a case of me not rating him. It's a case of me looking at the durability of our squad and who I think is going to be missing when we have a pivotal part of the season. And I have to say, for me, looking at the forward line we have, Salah's robust, Diaz and Gakpo are robust. Darwin, there's a different conversation there, because maybe you don't feel Darwin's form has been good enough. I appreciate that. And then there's Diogo. They're the options. So if we're looking at moving somebody on, I can't see a world where we do it without, or excuse me, if we're looking at bringing somebody in, I can't see a world where we do that without moving somebody on. So let's wait and see what happens with this poll. And then we'll see if I am deluded, or if maybe the people who are calling me deluded are the ones who are in fact deluded. Coach Bill said the AC Milan manager showed interest in Jota. While you're speaking about Milan, actually, Bill, it's there's an interesting story that Divock Origi, who hasn't played for Milan in over a year, is staying put over there, though, because of the tax laws and it being financially beneficial to him to stay over there versus him leaving Italy. So I found that quite funny earlier on reading it on Sky. So, Danny, Van Dijk hasn't agreed to sign the new contract. If you're talking about that absolute clown of an account, Indy Kayla, please don't insult my audience by coming in and saying that news, because that clown of an account has never broken anything other than people's hearts with their bullshit. So If that's what you're saying, please don't, mate. Or don't believe it yourself is what I'm saying as well, because, come on. That account's not to be taken seriously. If somebody else has said it, by all means, we can have this conversation and we'll celebrate. But we're going to need a little bit more than that particular account. If you're putting a poll up, would it not be better getting the results first for giving your opinion on it? Perhaps, yeah. I just don't think that my opinion is going to shape anybody else's, though. We're all free thinkers, and whether I give my opinion at the end or before, I don't expect it to shape other people's thought processes, but I do appreciate where you're coming from. Right, I'm going to move on while that polls up to another story that's come out today, and that is some words from our captain, Virgil van Dijk, about what it's like working with Arne Slot. Virgil has said this: with the new trainer, Arne Slot, slightly different things are being asked, not just from me, but also from the other players. I have a very prominent role in that, and I like that, and I think the trainer is also very happy with that. I'm in a position where, for example, you see how the opponent is putting pressure. With 1 or 2 or 3 strikers, are the opponent's backs high or not? Do they play with 1 or 2 controlling midfielders? There are different options every time. I've been talking to the trainer about this since day one. We sat down with images. The development after that has only been good. I'm really enjoying this. It's not easy. On the other hand, Slot has provided a breath of fresh air. He picks it up in his own way, and where I can help him, I do. The coach has inherited a very good team. We have to remember that last season we were fighting with Arsenal and Manchester City for the league title until 5 games before the end. Slot is a very good manager. So again, glowing praise for the new manager. So this is why I'm hoping that these contracts get sorted. Virgil's spoken really well about him. Trent has spoken really well about Arne Slot. So, at least we can feel comfortable that they believe the manager's doing the right things on the training ground and they've been impressed with Arne Slot since he's come in. What do you think of Gomez for CDM? No. Not for me, mate. No. I just don't think he has the passing ability for the role personally. He is very versatile and I'm sure he could do a job there. But again, I feel like we're trying to put square pegs in round holes. We need a specialist to come in there and help out Ryan Gravenberch. Now look, I'm sure Joe could do a role, but I wouldn't be confident in it long term. But again, appreciate you, Curtis. Thank you for your super chat, mate. Craig Indicator said, Indicator is full of shit, mate. Honestly. Do you know why I get so wound up by that account? Because they're knowingly telling people information that isn't true and it hurts these people. Nothing pisses me off more than somebody lying to their fellow football fans. So yeah, I get really angry about it because I can pull you 50 things that account's posted that's been absolute bullshit of the highest order and go back, I want to say a month ago, and this was being said then. Still no contract. So look back through the timeline. You don't even have me to make it up for you. Go back and look at it and you'll see similar things said about a month ago and still nothing. So I'm going to need an actual journalist to give us this information before I start to get excited about it. And they play on our emotions, right? So these accounts post stuff that they know we want to hear. And then we all get excited about it. And then we keep looking at the account and we're sharing the story. So 2 things about life in general in football fandom is emotion is important. Whether you're making people angry via TalkSport or other outlets. Whether you're making people happy with lying to them. It's all about just getting those clicks. Getting people's emotions a go. And I just don't like people who purposely lie just to drive this traffic and clicks. It's the lowest of the low for me. The Facebook Network said, did you see the article in The Athletic saying we shouldn't be afraid to be favourites? Yeah, I commented on the article as well, and I brought it up a little bit earlier on. There was one piece in the article that I didn't like. I'm going to read it out to you now in a second, actually. But all in, I thought it was a decent piece from Simon Hughes. I do enjoy Simon Hughes' writing. But there's a part in it about Jurgen that I'm just wondering, is it necessary for some of this stuff to be coming out? Because it feels like some people have been taking some shots at Jurgen recently. So one little paragraph from this otherwise very good article from Simon Hughes said, some of the problems Klopp left behind at Liverpool were less visible, with the relationship between football-related departments at the club nowhere near as healthy as evangelicals would lead you to believe. SALAH doesn't really have to worry about that, however, because it's Richard Hughes' responsibility as sporting director to sort issues that, if solved, will give Liverpool a better chance of achieving success and in the long term sustaining it. So, let me just read out the very important line in this again. Some of the problems Klopp left behind at Liverpool were less visible, with the relationships between football-related departments at the club nowhere near as healthy as evangelicals would lead you to believe. So basically, people were lying. Now this is what winds me up, because we're always pointed out as being conspiracy theorists if we call this stuff out, or over the top, or looking to cause trouble. We're being lied to. And we have been lied to in the past. So, again, I'm going to say, I will continue to speak my mind on bullshit that I think needs to be called out, and all these manipulation of influential people to do the club's bidding and put out sometimes falsely positive stuff. It's just damaging. So, it pisses me off, because everybody could see that there were some issues. But of course, we're all lunatics and we're all being told, you know, you're making something out of it. Club sources say this, club... They have to do what they have to do. They have to make it look like a rosy picture. But it was very clear that when Jurgen left, it felt like, from the outside looking in, some relationships within that structure had been fractured. So many people left. So many people moving out of roles that they were promoted to and weren't in there for a long time. And stuff that genuinely should have concerned us, but we were all being told everything's great. And it wasn't. Now, why is all this coming out now? I really don't know. I don't like the idea that people are trying to make Jurgen's situation, I don't know, worse now that he's gone. It just feels unnecessary. Hoarder, thank you, sir, for your 3 months membership and for your comment. I want to keep Jota. Love to you all from Iceland. Love right back to you, my friend, and thank you for your continued support of the channel. And look, around Jota, we all rate Jota. It's just, for me, it just comes down to the availability thing. Does anybody else notice that, though, about Klopp recently? There's been a few snidey things creeping into the media, and I don't like it. Imagine a world where all the Liverpool fans around the world could book in a £5 a week to cover the wages for three amigos. Fergal, the fact we're almost joking about that, mate, is disgusting in itself, isn't it? Because I'm constantly getting told that I'm unfair to the owners. I'm constantly getting told that, you know, the owners are great and, you know, I have something in for them and I won't let it go and all this other stuff. And honestly, it isn't that way at all with me. I just feel like what I say is true. They're cheap. And I will say that until I'm proven otherwise. And it's not going to be from some FSG loving fans who just want to love the accountancy. I don't care. I want our managers to be backed. I want Liverpool to be successful. And I want the owners to be held to account. And I don't understand how some fans don't think similarly. Or that they think that they have done all that they can do. They haven't. They absolutely haven't. They've also lied to us on occasions, like we know about, like, here's the Super League, you're joining it, tough shit. I don't get it. I don't get how you can do this to people and still have people being supportive of you and thinking the rest of us are all wrong. I don't hate FSG for everything that they've done. I hate them for two things. I've been abundantly clear about this. The Super League and the lack of money for managers. And the crying of poor mouth constantly, which ties into that same thing. And every time I do a poll and every time I ask people about the owners, overwhelmingly 3/4 of the people are unhappy. So whoever these apologists, and they are apologists, I don't know what they want. I don't know why they're afraid of success. I don't know why they're afraid of asking for more, expecting more from owners that have the ability to do more. Neville said, even David Lynch defends FSG, didn't like that part. So let me just touch on this for a second, because you're not the first person to say that in a comment around David. So I would say it's fair to say that I don't think David is as critical of the owners as I am. But there's a couple of things here. The reason I like speaking with David Lynch is I think it's important that we get different opinions. So I have my opinion on FSG, and I'm not afraid to sit down and speak with somebody who has a differing opinion on FSG and hear what they have to say and maybe make my own mind up. But you never see it the other way around. You never see anybody who is critical of them being given an opportunity to question them or to interview somebody at the club about the ownership group. And this is what pisses me off. So with the Red Mist podcast, me and Lee are looking to again bring people together to have conversations in a civil way that might be emotive subjects like the Manchester City situation, which we're going to be debating on Monday. And with David Lynch, I very much love a differing viewpoint, because maybe I'm wrong about certain things and David can help me with that. Or maybe I can point out some stuff to David that he perhaps wasn't thinking about in a certain way. So I don't feel like he's an FSG apologist. I just genuinely feel that he thinks if there's a problem to be had here with these contracts, he thinks that FSG have empowered Hughes and Edwards to sort it out, and ultimately it would come down to their decisions. And I understand where he's coming from. We just look at it a little bit differently. I think ultimately whoever's at the top of the pyramid is responsible, and that's why I like David. We can have a respectful differing of opinions, and it doesn't get into a shouting match, and people can then make up their own mind what they think. I just hope that it shows people that, you know, these important conversations need to be had. They do need to be had, and we need to do it from a place where it isn't trying to just undermine each other or shout each other down or belittle each other. Snappy said, what baffles me is we're looking to sign a forward for some reason. I guess two things on that, mate. One, and I've questioned the same thing myself, bro, so I don't think you're on your own there. One, I wonder, is it a contingency plan in case we can't extend Mo? That's my first thought. And then my second one is maybe Arne has already made his mind up on somebody in the forward line that he thinks we can improve on. Now, obviously, I don't know either of those to be definitive or definite, but it's the only things I can really think about that justifies, like you've said, why we're seeing so many more links to attackers recently. Johnny said, completely agree, Craig. Just imagine what we could have achieved if they didn't or hadn't penny pinched right when we needed to go in for the kill. Yep. So the argument back there, Johnny, is always, oh, you want us to be like Man City or Chelsea. No, we don't. It doesn't have to be that extreme. We just want a bit more. And that's it. I've said before, Liverpool fans, to me, a lot of them feel like we're almost browbeaten into accepting the crumbs off the table, or into accepting whatever narrative the owners put out. And the narrative about everything was great behind the scenes with Jurgen, well, that's apparently bullshit, according to journalists who all of a sudden now are willing to write about these things, but didn't have the backbone to speak up about it at the time. And then again, they call us the ones that are untrustworthy. Say what you want about me, I've been consistent on my opinion. I haven't changed it. I haven't tried to stab somebody in the back after they've gone and belittle them. I've always said, even when Jurgen was saying he had a great relationship with the owners, I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it because I don't believe it. Because he wanted more. And he should have had more. Because he deserved more. So yeah. That's my my take. 1 second. Okay. Corbin, 2003, thank you for this, mate. Said, Red Mist pod with a City fan if you can find one. Oh, I know a couple of City fans we could get on. Myself and Lee are going to be debating on Monday about the Manchester City situation because we have very different viewpoints on it. And again, we're going to try and show that we can do it in a grown-up, educated way. Unlike some of the people who've already been leaving comments calling me a human thumb, a talking thumb, you're all going to get fucked straight out of the chat if you come in with that attitude. So, you know, one thing I hope people know about me at this point is that respect is a minimum. You don't come in disrespect me, my guests, or the chat. You don't last long. So to those people trying to be smart arses in the Red Mist comments, you won't be around very long if you keep it up. G said, Craig, my argument is FSG don't know football. Edwards and Hughes do, and being given the chance to show the fans FSG will spend. But they want people who will make good choices for the team. So let me push this back a little bit. We had Edwards in before for quite a while. And we weren't really shown that the club could spend too much, were we? So I love that you're optimistic. And I'm absolutely open-minded with regards to let's see what they do over the next few windows. 100%. We're now in a position of strength. We've started the season well, but we still need to sort out the contracts. And these contracts are just embarrassing at this point that we're still here. Vaughan said, Klopp narrative smells fishy because if he was given that amount of power and was shafted by the owners to sign certain players, which he would have, it doesn't make any sense. A lot of these things haven't made sense to me, mate. Like, how is it, like the Paul Joyce tweet the other day, or the Paul Joyce piece the other day that said, it's not that Liverpool don't have the resources, it's that they want to allocate those resources accordingly. And again, we're back to talk about the wage bill, even though we freed up a load of money off the wage bill over the summer. Like, this is what I keep saying about us football fans often being treated like we're idiots. You can't save 18 million quid on a wage bill and then cry arse about having to pay a little bit more money to keep players who've been great servants to the football club. It doesn't make any sense. But people are happy to spout this and put this shit out because if, you know, they want to make sure that they get into the press conferences, they get into the stadium, they get access to interview the manager. And if it takes maybe towing the narrative on certain things, some people are willing to do that. I'm not. Corbin said, I love the pod, Craig. I think it could be huge. Honestly, I'm so excited about it. You know, the feedback I've gotten from the first show at Lee was really good. And I as well think that, yeah, we could be on something special here. We've already got our next 2 guests lined up as well. So lots of stuff coming up. We're going to be kicking that off properly next Monday. Craig, did you catch Peter Moore's comments today? Said Fergal. He's under the impression that FSG will do all that they can to get the contracts over the line. So I read out some of his comments. I'll read them out to you again here. 1 second. So these are comments from Peter Moore, who said, I don't know what's going to happen, but it is Trent, it's Mo, it's Virgil, and it's hard to imagine any of those leaving Liverpool. Ownership, I know ownership is working feverishly to get deals done with all 3, and whether it is all 3, 2 of the 3, 1 of the 3, or none of the 3, I don't know. So he basically just said he doesn't know. You know, he knows that the owners are working on the stuff, but he knows nothing about what's going on. So I'm going to say he just knows nothing and move on from there. Because, you know, hearing him say that is no different to me saying it, or the Anfield Rap saying it, or Redmen saying it, or Coppish saying it, or David Lynch saying it. It's just opinions. And he doesn't have a clue, as he said, if it's going to be 3, 2, 1, or none of them. So, yeah, let's just wait and see. So, the poll is still up if you'd like to contribute and take part in it. The question was, you need to move a forward on to sign Marmoush, or any player. You can slot in any forward there. Who are you moving on? And we gave you 4 options. Darwin, Jota, Lucho, or Mo leaves on a free. And we're going to keep that up there for a little bit longer. Corbin again, thank you, mate. You've been so kind with super chats, bro. Thank you. Said, class pod, mate. When you get the multi-million-pound pod deal, don't forget us. Do you know what? It's so hard to make money from a podcast. And look, we're doing it on YouTube at the start, so we call it a podcast, but it's just because I think it sounds better as the Red Mist podcast. And eventually we will move it on to podcast apps, but it's incredibly difficult, to make money from a podcast. Although if you can hit in there, the CPMs or the ad rates per 1,000 views it dwarfs what you get on YouTube. So, I'm just excited because I like chatting with Lee, and we've got some great guests lined up, and I think it's going to be fun. Monkstown Glass said, how do you get into a Liverpool press conference? Is it invited or do you have to apply? You have to apply to the press office. Yeah, you can also buy access to the video feeds and stuff like that through other outlets. Adam Jameer, thank you, mate. This is such a beautiful comment. Thank you. So, Craig, mate, I don't know what I'd do without this channel. It's my escape from the heartbreak of watching my son struggle. Know that the AA family are there to keep me going. Thank you, mate. Well, I hope your son is okay. And look, it's been my outlet as well. It's been my go-to when I've been in a bad place, and I know it's been the same to others. When I meet people at live shows or anything like that, it's always incredibly humbling to hear these stories that you play a part in people's day, and that they tune in, they look forward to 8:45. Honestly, it makes the shittier days or the tough days so much more worth it to hear these type of things. So again, much love to you and your son, and thank you for being in here with us. Right, Hoarder, let me get your comment back up again. Said, I'm disappointed with Hughes and Edwards. So I still don't really know how to feel about the Hughes and Edwards situation, because, as I've said before, and I've tried to be fair about, they inherited this situation. They both came, one of them back into the club, but the other one as the sporting director in the summer. And this wasn't a problem of their making. They have had some time to sort it out, and I'm frustrated that they haven't. But overall, I still think, this should have been started 18 months ago. As an example, Erling Haaland right now has 2.5 years to go on his current Manchester City contract, and they're already starting to talk about extending that with that new £100 million 4-year deal that's been spoken about. We shouldn't have left this long. It's just bad legacy planning. I don't get it. I'll never understand it, and it'll never have made sense to me because I think it's a mistake. Osman, thank you so much, mate, for your super chat. Said, Craig, do you think we have the best defence in the league this season? 100% yes. I've said this numerous times, specifically the centre-back pairing. There is no better centre-back pairing in the league this season. You can make the argument for Gabriel and Saliba, but not this season. This season, Virgil and Ibu, in my opinion, are without a doubt the best two in the Premier League. Now, still a long way to go in the campaign, but it's great to be able to say that. And say that knowing I'm not on a wind-up, genuinely feel like there isn't a better centre-back pairing than those two in the league now. Monkstown Glass, thank you again, very kind of you. Gifted 5 Anfield Agenda memberships. They've gone to Gumi, to Chris Chan, to Alvin Fong, to Everblack, and to Ethan Parker. Thank you, mate, much appreciated. Caroline Miller, how are you? Said, hi Craig, starting to think John W. Henry doesn't want Liverpool. Spending good money on Salah, Trent, Virgil, when you have good players, you should look after them. Please start listening. I can't figure it out, Caroline. So with Virgil and Mo, there is the whole age thing, and you can understand the club being a bit cautious on that. But ultimately, over the last few months, they've both shown they're in great condition. They show no signs of falling off a cliff form-wise. And the whole Trent thing is just another level of stupidity. And I don't like saying that word about our club, but make it make sense, you know. There's no reason you should have allowed Trent Alexander-Arnold to get to this position. Absolutely none. I know everybody's optimistic and still believes it gets done, and hopefully it does. But just imagine for a second it doesn't. How do you think that's going to impact the fan base, the morale, and maybe even future prospects of players coming into the club? It's not a good look for these owners that were in this position. You know, it's got to the point where on the cop there's a banner. You know, you've seen it about the he plays with a bow, give him his dough, FSG. Exactly. You know, and that's the hardcore fans on the cop speaking up again saying, give him a deal. I don't understand the Caroline. I don't understand how it hasn't happened yet. Hoarder, welcome in, mate. People talk as if Henry is running the club. He's not. Edwards is running the club. Edwards is in charge of the contract negotiations. No, he's not, and no, he isn't. You're welcome. Hughes is the sporting director. Edwards is the Chief Football Operations Officer for FSG, looking at bringing other clubs and stuff. Ultimately, it is Michael Edwards that is responsible for the negotiations. Richard Hughes, that's responsible for the negotiations, and Edwards will chip in. But you're also acting like, in your scenario, much like I said to David Lynch, he's empowered these people. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think if Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards turned around to John W. Henry next week and said, I want to sign Jamal Musiala for £180 million, do you think they'd be empowered to go and do that? Would they fuck? We all know what the answer would be. So, again, this feels like excuse making to me, you know, because Hughes and Edwards are in for the last 6 months. The owners have been here throughout it all. The owners have let this contract situation get to this point, either by empowering the wrong people or whatever, but here we are, and we are in a situation that is embarrassing. So for me, I find it makes more sense to point the finger of blame at people who've been here throughout the entire process than people who inherited the headache. And again, for all the talk of empowerment, it only works one way, because it's not going to work where we want to spend 200 million quid because, you know, I'm yet to see FSG write that check. And again, Hoarder, thank you, mate. Appreciate you. And look, again, I respectfully disagree. I'm not putting you down or anything. I'm just saying I can hear the angle you're coming from. I just don't agree with it. But look, you don't have to agree with me either, bro. That's the beauty of what we're doing here. Irish said, will the South American boys be ready to play for Sunday? So I wouldn't play Lucho and I wouldn't play McAllister on Sunday, and I'm going to explain to you why. McAllister simply comes down to two things. The yellow card situation and the fact that he's never really great when he comes back from these international breaks. And with Lucho, I think we've got an opportunity here to play Cody Gakpo to let Lucho again get a bit of a rest in after all that travelling with Real Madrid and Manchester City coming up. I had a look on the calendar yesterday, and between now and the end of December, Liverpool play 11 games. So we're going to have to use the squad and rotate it. So I think resting up the two South American boys, you might have to play Darwin, but he only played half of Uruguay's last game. So that's my thought process ahead of this one anyway, and have the boys ready for Wednesday. Quinelle, said, where did the 115 mil for Caicedo go? So I don't know. Our team had so much money, now that's gone. So the answer you would get if you pose that question would most likely be some variation of the money is made available for specific players if they fit into the project. There isn't just a pile of money. So it's not a case of Arne Slot is told you have £70 million, go spend that £70 million. It's apparently a case of a player by player basis. The recruitment team puts together the list. They then sit down and they talk about what value there is at each player. So with Caicedo, they eventually seemingly got to the point where they were willing to pay 115 million. But the thing that I don't think gets spoken about enough in that situation is the Lavia part of it. Because remember in the build-up, we were saying, the club were briefing, we're not paying £50 million for him. He's not worth £50 million. They're taking the piss with the valuation. So then we lost out on Caicedo and we went in with 55 million and still didn't get him. So the whole thing is a farce. And anybody who has been happy with the midfield situation for the past 2.5 years, I don't know what they're watching. It's been one embarrassing fuck up after another. Whether it's going for Tchouaméni and then hearing he wants Madrid, okay, that happens. Then you go, Bellingham didn't do anything there. Then you look at the situation with Caicedo. Then you look at the situation with Lavia. And then you still manage to shit the bed with Zubimendi. This is not a good look for a football club. And anybody journalistically or as a fan who doesn't think that's a bad look, I don't know what to say. Because to me, it looks like we just have a problem getting over the line. Or we're going after people that we know won't come. So that we can at least buy some time, get some positive headlines from it, show that we're trying. I don't want trying, I want done. I want to go and get these players signed. I want to go and win stuff. I want Arne to build a dynasty. So, what I will say is, can you imagine what the pushback is going to be like if one or two of these boys don't extend? Because I'm sure FSG have an idea of the temperature of the fan base, but the idea of them losing Trent for free, there's no sorting that out. There's no smoothing that shit over. If Trent doesn't extend, it's not going to be pretty. People are going to be very pissed off, very angry, and very full of questions. Because we're always told we're clever, we have to make every penny count, yet we allow players to walk out the door for nothing, we don't replace so many players, and now we have a situation where a potentially £100 million player can walk out the door for nothing. Not clever. Not clever. Despite what anybody tries to tell us, this is not clever. Lee Hall said, Craig, do you think all three could have signed up already? No. Because if Trent had signed up and he'd given a no to Madrid, that would have been leaked. So, again, I love people's optimism that they're hoping for that, big announcement, all three done, here you go, happy Christmas. I would be very happy if that was the case, and there'd be no complaining from me, but I think some of that would have gotten out by now, particularly the Trent stuff. So let me get this super chat up on screen. So You'll Never Walk Alone 2.0, thank you mate, said, Craig, if you had to keep two, who would it be? This is such a difficult question because it depends how you're looking at things. If you're looking at it short term, I think you keep Virgil and Mo. If you're looking at it longer term, then you probably want to keep Trent around as one of the two you have to keep. I feel like it's easier to replace Trent than it is Virgil and Mo. So in this situation, with where we are right now, with a new manager, with the position in the league, I would say Virgil and Mo would be the two I'd keep. All three will be a big loss, or any of the three be a big loss, but I just think those two are just so important to us. Yeah, that's the two I'd go with. Johnny Pay said, only thing I will say, Craig, is would the fans ever accept if we sold Trent? So, I can only speak for me on this one, mate. And I would be pissed off. I'm not going to lie. If I woke up a year ago and heard Liverpool selling Trent to Real Madrid for 70 or 80 million, I'd be asking why. But I'd also at least know that we have that money then to reinvest. And it's far more palatable than losing him for free. which again I just can't fathom yet, and I don't want to. I don't want to think about it because it's so ridiculous to me that I just, yeah, I'm almost burying my head in the sand, refusing to accept that he might actually leave for free. So I've got more stuff to go through. Dr. Ian Graham has been speaking a little bit about Andy Robertson and a couple of other things that I found very, very interesting. So when we signed Andy Robertson, it feels like, well, he was third on the wish list. On the wish list ahead of him was Mendy, the Manchester City fullback, before he went to City. So when he was he was number one on the list. Ederson Palmeiras from Roma, who I think ended up at Chelsea eventually, was number two on the list. So Andy Robertson was the third. So this is what Dr. Ian Graham said, who was our head of data and analytics, I believe. I was really not certain of Robertson's defending when he arrived. Well, going on to say that, well, Emerson got injured, Mendy went to Manchester City, and then the Reds moved on to the third name on the list, which was Andy Robertson. So, yeah. There you go. Liverpool apparently wanted Mendy as the first choice, Emerson Palmeiras as the second choice, and then Andy Robertson. And, you know, I'm certainly very grateful that we ended up on Andy Robertson because, wow, what a player, what a bargain, what a guy to have around the club as well. Yeah, I was surprised, though, reading that earlier on. So somebody said I'm lagging again. Am I? It's not shown at my end. Doesn't mean it's not happening now, but I'm not seeing anything showing I'm lagging at my end. But if I am, just refresh, I guess, and apologies. Peter Moore said FSG were feverishly looking to get the 3 contracts done. Pure speculation. Yeah, of course. Of course it's speculation because he goes on himself, mate, to say, I don't know if all 3 get done, 1 get done, or none get done. You know? So, I could tell you that they're working on the contracts. You know, the man down the pub could tell you that they're working on the contracts. That in itself is no information. But, you know, he says he doesn't know whether it's 1, 2, or 3 that get done, so he doesn't really know anything, does he? And again, I do apologise if there was a lag. Sometimes you just have to be hest of the broadband connections. So, David Ornstein was breaking this earlier on around Guardiola's contract, and he said, breaking, Pep Guardiola commits future to Manchester City by signing a new 2-year contract. The 53-year-old previous deal expired in 2025. Final agreement is a straight extension to 2027. No break clauses in there as well. So it's not a 1+1. It's a straight 2-year extension for Guardiola. Do you know what I find funny about this? Manchester City, with all the charges going on and everything over their heads and all the uncertainty, over a couple of weeks were able to sort out Guardiola, the most in-demand manager in the world, and get him renewed. And yet our owners, over the course of 18 months, with 2 different sporting directors and a shit ton of time, can't renew 1 of the 3 contracts that are running out. So make that make sense, please. Because either Pep's just really easy to deal with, or something else. And for me, I think it's, again, a sign that we could get these things done quicker if we actually wanted to. But I'm feeling like we're penny pinching again here. Personally, that's all I can take from this. So how can City get that done so quickly, but we can't get 1 of 3 players' contracts done? And that's something I think gets lost in this conversation. Not 1 of them have been done. You know, not 1 of the 3. Not 1. You know, we're all assuming they all get done together, but, you know, we've not seen 1. Not 1. Craig, they probably have thrown a shitload of cash at him. Oh, sure, I've no doubt about that, Fergal. But again, at least they want to get it done and they get it done. Is the point I'm trying to make there. I've no doubt he's been well compensated, yes. Horda said, I feel we are cheap. I feel we are as well. Right, so we're now over 1,000 votes. So I'm going to end the poll. I asked just to prove if I was deluded to all the people that said I have an agenda against Diogo Jota. Once again, it feels like I'm just speaking what the majority of fans, at least in our community, are feeling. So we asked you, you need to move it forward on to sign Ramu. Who are you moving on? And we gave you 4 options: Darwin, Jota, Diaz, or Mo leaving on a free. And 60% of the over 1,000 votes, so over 600 people, voted Diogo Jota would be the one they'd sacrifice. Darwin, unsurprisingly, was second with 30%. Mo leaving on a free, 7%. And Diaz, 1%. So there you go. To people that think, once again, I'm deluded or have an agenda. Nope, I'm just saying what most people are feeling. And, you know, you might not like it, but it is what most people are thinking. So I just tried to say what I feel and what I think is common sense. Jota is underappreciated. He isn't. I guarantee you that if I asked every one of those 600 or so people that clicked on Jota why you're picking on Jota, none of them would answer because he's not good enough. Not one of them would say that. I would bet that every single one of them or close to it would say it's to do with the injuries. I love Diogo as a player. Go back and watch me speak about him. I've said so many times how intelligent he is, how good a finisher he is, how good his movement is. But none of that's any use to you if he's unavailable for 25% of a season. And now we're coming up to, I think it's 104 or 105 games he's missed over the last 6 years for club and country. And dress that up any way you want, it's hurtful to the squad over the course of a season. It's your fans, be realistic, Craig. Well, I can't have any other way of conducting a poll, mate, can I? To be fair, you know, I can only ask the people I have access to. So I'm absolutely aware that, yes, maybe it is, but also you're all your own free thinkers as well. You know, I'm not going to patronise you and think whatever I say is what everybody votes. So yeah, look, like in the FSG stuff, I would say yes, maybe sometimes this thing would be slanted because a lot of people that watch me would probably be people that have a similar mindset about the owners. But I honestly feel with Jota, it's a common sense thing. You know, we're not just saying sell Jota here. If we're not looking at a forward, there's no conversation to be had. But we're constantly looking at forwards and being linked with forwards in the media. So we've got to ask why. And when you get to the why conversation, the most likely scenario is we lose somebody. So to lose somebody, it's either Mo doesn't get extended or we're selling somebody else. So it's just a common sense thing for me to put these things together and ask, well, what would you do? So you can say it's just my audience or fans or whatever, but I think you're doing those people an injustice to think they're not free thinkers. You all have the ability to click that button. I don't know who clicks what. I just know the percentages. Last 2 injuries are freaks. But that doesn't make any bit of difference. You know? He's still not available. And it's still an injury. So I understand it's unlucky. But it's still a thing. Like, someone landed on him when his rib pierced his lung. Okay, that's still unlucky. You know, he's still not available. Whatever the reason is, he's not available. You know, you don't get extra points in the Premier League for saying it's a freak injury to Diogo Jota. No, you just can't pick him, unfortunately. The Facebook Network said, I mean, I'm nowhere near as football intelligent as probably the majority of people here, despite my own experience playing, but no matter the sport, injury equals time off the pitch. Exactly. Like, look at Thiago, probably the best example of this. Every single one of us thought he was a magician. Thought he was absolutely phenomenal. But he wasn't available enough. And ultimately, his legacy at Liverpool will be great player, but wasn't around enough. Now, Diogo Jota isn't in that category of injury prone. But we've fallen away over the last few years because of a lack of options or a lack of fitness, because we've had to play the same players and run them into the ground. And this all comes together to form part of these small percentages that we're speaking about that are the difference between sustaining a title challenge over 38 games or doing it for 30 games and falling away at the end. Just like I've praised Arne Slot for these 10-12 minutes that he's taken Trent off or taken Mo off, I think that's clever. That's great, and that will stand us in good stead for the remainder of the season. You know, we're going to have some difficult conversations at times and be ruthless. We can't keep everybody forever and say everybody's a great lad. It's a tough business, sport at the highest level, small margins, and sometimes that margin is availability of players, fatigue, injury, and I just don't want us to be here disappointed again in March or April because we're running out of bodies. To be fair, Salah gets fouled a lot but never injured. Some players, it's no player's fault that their bodies maybe can't stand the rigours of 2 games a week or whatever. You know, you can't argue with somebody's physical makeup. You know, I love Diogo Jota. And as I said, if you told me he's going to be fit for all of next season, not a chance I'd be looking to sell him. Because he's brilliant. We know that. Craig, we have Real Madrid on Wednesday. Do you think we'll win against them? I think it's a decent time to play them. You know, you're always going to have concerns playing Real Madrid because just look at the team sheet, you know. Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Bellingham, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Valverde. The list goes on and on and on. But it's whether they can come play as a cohesive unit and how we start the game. So what I would suggest going to play Real Madrid is show them no respect. And I mean on the pitch, show them no respect. Don't back off them. Don't stand and watch them. Get stuck into them. Start at 100 miles an hour. Get Anfield behind you. Get the crowd up. Put in a crunching tackle and make them uncomfortable. And then, you know, hope that they all start looking around at each other and shrugging their shoulders and, you know, going into a bit of a strop as some of these diva superstars do. And I think that's our best bet. So we can't afford to start slowly and let them grow into the game. I think we've got to be at them from the first second and use the power of Anfield because it's a big night. And it will send again another statement, I think. And look, Lille, I think, beat Madrid, right? If I'm remembering correctly. So they're there to be beaten, but we've got to go and do it. Do you think Mbappe is a flop at Real Madrid? I think it's too early to say that, but I think it's a stupid signing. I don't think they need him. You know, you're bringing him in to try and play him centrally when he's not a central striker, and you're bringing him in as somebody who's naturally better off the left side when you've got one of the best players in the world on the left side in Vinny Jr. I just don't see the need for from Real Madrid other than absolute greed and arrogance, because as the Barcelona president has said, and as many other people have said, there's only so many egos you're going to fit there. There's only so many people who won't track back and defend. There's only so many passengers you can carry on a pitch. And even Bellingham hasn't looked the same player since Mbappe's come in because he's been asked to do a little bit deeper and is not getting into the penalty area and getting as many goals and assists. So all in all, I just think it was a stupid piece of business. Which sounds crazy because it's Mbappe and, you know, we know what he's capable of. But we also know he brings baggage. Real Madrid, in my mind, went from an almost dream scenario where I looked at them and thought, feckin' hell, they've got in players for reasonable fees. They've refreshed the age of a lot of the profile of the team. And they've done so strategically and very good and surgically, you know, bringing in what they need. And then the Mbappe stuff comes up and it just doesn't fit what we've seen previously from them. Like, it's like they've gone back to the whole Galacticos era again. Is Jota in your top 20 all-time Liverpool players in terms of finishing? Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know what the other 19 might be in my mind. I'd have to sit down and figure it all out. But top 20, I'd say, yeah, he's probably in the top 20. I don't see why he wouldn't be. What do you think happens to Bradley long-term if Trent stays? Yeah, it's a difficult question, isn't it? we'd seen Nico Williams think eventually he had to move on for the same reason. We had Trent ahead of him and he's not going to get a look in there. I do hope that if Trent stays, Connor stays as well, and Arna can find a way to give Connor Bradley 25 or 30 games across all competitions in the season to give Trent a breather. But there's always another scenario that somebody pointed out to me the other night that could be worth a conversation is, could you change Bradley across to the left on occasion? I naturally prefer a left-footed left back, but it's not the worst idea in the world. Rather than, I don't want to lose Connor Bradley because I feel like he's got a lot of attributes and he's not the finished article, but there's a lot there to like. So yeah, what do you think? Could we switch him across to the left on occasion, as we've done with Gomez from time to time? And I think Gomez has looked more likely to score when coming in off the left because he's cutting in onto that right foot a bit more and, maybe more opportunities for him. Imagine if this was the old Craig. You're completely right. I don't know what that means, mate. Sorry. I've no idea what the old Craig is versus the new Craig. Sorry. I don't even have I changed? I don't know. I smell a poll. Okie doke, Bill. Let's go with that. So let's get a poll up. Right, so question is, could we play Bradley at left back if needed? Yes or no? If Trent doesn't extend, I trust in you, Craig, to be the Irish Cafu for us. Oh, you don't want me there, mate. I was a goalkeeper, so I'll happily be the next Alisson. But no, not full back. That's not me. I was more of a left winger when I played outfield because I'm left footed. So yeah, actually, maybe I could play left back. I was left footed. Maybe I could be reinvented. So John, genuinely, I'm intrigued to know what you mean by that comment. So if you get a chance, bro, please do explain to me what you mean by imagine if this was the old Craig ... You are completely right. I really am intrigued to know what you mean by that. Troy said, I think he means ever since you said you want to be more calm. So I've tried to learn a few things over the years, and that's not to lose my temper where possible with people in my chat, not to instinctively jump on a comment that I might be misinterpreting, and a few other I've learned a lot over the years, and I'm not gonna lie, I love a good rant. I do. I'm not gonna sit here and say otherwise. Like when I get angry at a ref or the owners, I fucking love a good rant. It honestly makes my soul sing. It feels great to get it out and shout. So, maybe I'm a bit less angry these days. I'm trying to make it count when I rant. Easy Believer said, no way, Bradley goes left back. Can't forget he got cooked for that Forest goal earlier in the season. So, he's also not the finished article, mate. And every player is going to be beaten on occasion for a goal. And I'm not saying, by the way, he absolutely can play at left back, but I'm also not saying he's the finished article. I still think Connor Bradley has some developing left in him, and I think it'll be a year or two before we see the fully, ready Connor Bradley. Gary Neville again going for a draw for us on Sunday. Yeah, I'd seen that. And look, honestly, at this point, just fuck off, Neville. Like, honestly, just do one. Putting a 1-1 draw for us against Southampton. It's just bait. Yeah. Look, he just, this season, Neville's just coming across as an absolute clown. Honestly. No rational-minded human being looks at this game and really, really, really thinks the likely outcome is a 1-1 draw. It's just bollocks from Neville. And that's all I'm going to say on it. Paul said, enjoy the show with the Peterborough chairman immensely. I'm really glad to hear that, Paul. Thank you. I've gotten to know Dara over the years, emailing back and forth and doing a few little bits together. He also invited us over if we wanted to go to a Peterborough game at any point this season, which is very kind of him. He's just a top guy. I'm really proud of him as a fellow Irishman. I'm always wanting my fellow countrymen and women to do well. And I also like that Dara's very outspoken. Like myself, he's not always right, but he's not backwards about coming forwards. And he's always been good to me. Always, where possible, made time to come on for a chat. And I love reminiscing with him about some of the older South Dublin days and stuff as well. Because we went to school pretty close to each other. He's 5 years older than me, so we're from roughly the same era, and I think he's a really good guy. I really like Darren McAnthony, so I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. Thank you. I always look forward to our chats with him. I always feel very upbeat after I chat with him. So if you haven't watched it, by the way, please do. Or if you're a podcast listener, you can check the Anfield Agenda podcast, and the audio of it is up there. The man tipped United to finish third. Gary's ego is taking a battering. He loves Arsenal all of a sudden. His bias is becoming evident this season. And also, I think it was him who picked Solanke to have the biggest impact this season as a signing. It was him or Carragher. I think it was Neville. And what makes that so hilarious is he said that he thinks Dominic Solanke is going to be the signing that has the biggest impact on his club of any signing made in the summer. And then he goes on to have Spurs finishing worse than they did last year. By a place. That is the multi-million pound a year paid pundit. With that crap. Solanke's going to be the most impactful player in the Premier League, and also the team he's impacting are going to be worse off than they are last year with his prediction. And I'm supposed to sit here and do what with that exactly? It's if somebody didn't point that out to him when he put the predictions out there, I don't know what to say. You need better people involved at Sky or something, because that's a fucking joke to come out with that statement in the same predictions. It was Neville that said that, definitely. It's mad, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's oh, if I said that, I'd have to be apologising for such a shit take. Like, how do you say somebody's going to be the biggest impact, the most impressive signing, and their team is going to be worse than the year before? It's hilarious. Do you think Southampton is a banana skin? So I think it's a banana skin so much as any away game in the Premier League after an international break is a banana skin. It's the Premier League. Every game can be competitive. But ultimately, no. We should be going there and beating them. We should. So, Bill O'Reilly, you said this channel man ... laugh. Again, I would appreciate some meat on those bones, bro. So what particularly is up with the channel that you don't like or that you find particularly funny? Because, share with the class, mate. Share with the class. Right, so I have these predictions now. Mark sent them on to me. So Neville had Gary. Gary Neville had Arsenal winning the league, and Carragher had City. Again, I think before the season, both of those are reasonable predictions. Second, third, and fourth, Jamie had Arsenal in second, Liverpool in third, Spurs in fourth. Again, I think that's fairly rational. Neville had City, United, and Chelsea. So City second, United third, Chelsea fourth. Liverpool fifth, Spurs sixth. If you took the United out of that equation, I think you could almost make a valid argument for it. Liverpool being fifth isn't the most ludicrous thing in the world. But to throw United up there into third again When, remember, they had the same manager at this point. They hadn't brought Amarim in, so they had the same clown that was there before. Impact signing, yeah, Dominic Solanke. And yeah, how's that working out there? You know, impact signing for a team that he predicts to finish worse than the season before. Great punditry, that. Bill said, good vibes only, bro. Keep going. Thank you. I was hoping that's what you meant, Bill. I thought you meant this channel, man. You know, you don't know what you're going to get or anything can be said. So, yeah, thank you. And I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth, mate, from one minute to the next. So, yeah, appreciate you. Thank you. What's this? Yeah, so again, Indicator with his bullshit exclusive. We understand Virgil has agreed to sign a new contract. Fucking hell. I hope somebody else picks up on that and put some meat on those bones, you know, because we'd all love Virgil to sign a new contract, but I'm not believing that. And I swear, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but didn't he say that a month ago? Or that a breakthrough had happened with Virgil van Dijk's contract. I swear there was something like that about a month ago from that same account. Sister of Night 101 said Neville's predictions are on a par with ESPN FC's. Never gets it right. So I don't know who this person works for. Alexi Lalas. I don't know what station he works for, whether it's Fox or whoever it is in America. But I sat here last night and I heard Alexi Lalas say with a straight face that the United States of America can win the next World Cup under Mauricio Pochettino. This is another paid pundit. Now look, will they do better than maybe anticipated? Potentially. Home teams in a World Cup, host nations generally tend to outperform normal tournaments. And will Pochettino maybe improve this American team? Yeah, I can see a way that happens. Do I see a way that the United States of America win the next World Cup? Absolutely no chance in hell. 0%, not happening, not a chance. No disrespect meant to my American friends. I would be saying the same thing if he tipped Ireland to go win the next World Cup. It is just absolute bollocks again. And he can't believe that. He can't. Again, great get for the United States bringing in Poch. And I'm sure he'll move them on. And I'm sure they will outperform at the World Cup. You know, host nations normally do very well. And I want them to do well. Like, don't get me wrong. I'd love America to have a good tournament. Because every time I've gone over to America, I've seen the excitement for the game grow. And, you know, the fan base of football in America grow. I happened to be there for the World Cup before the Qatar one. And you could even see it there in and around Orlando and all. You know, people were caring about it. And the game is growing and it's great to see. But you're not winning the World Cup, lads. Come on. As a Mexican-American, I agree with you. Same thing with Mexico. Look, again, I think the home nations will do well there, but there's no chance of one of them winning it. Not with the players we have. Too selfish. Look, again, I think Pochettino's a great appointment, and I think United States football fans have every right to be optimistic for the future because it is a big appointment and a very good get. But I just think, talk of a World Cup win. If you got quarterfinals of a World Cup, that is an outstanding tournament for the United States of America. And I do think that's feasible. You know, if they get it right, with the crowd behind them, the good mood in the country, yeah, I think quarterfinals of a World Cup could be possible. Horda said, I love the Mexico team. I love all the Mexico kits. I bought a Mexico tracksuit top before when I was over in Florida on holidays, man. I love some of the Mexico gear. Right, so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me again tonight. We're going to check in on this poll before we finish up. Could Conor Bradley do a job at left back if needed? 62% of the few people that voted said yes, and 38% said no. So tomorrow, we are going to have the prediction coming out tomorrow morning, the preview, I should say, for the Southampton game. That's going to be coming out. I'm going to do a recap video as soon as this stream's over for anybody who may have missed most of the stream. We're going to go back over all of the news. And again, thank you to everyone. If you have checked out the interview with Darragh McAnthony, thank you. If you haven't, I think you'll enjoy it. Give it a listen. It's about 30 minutes long. It's up on the YouTube channel and the podcast. And if I could ask you one last little favour, again, if you can, subscribe to the Anfield Agenda Clips channel. You'll find the link in the description of the stream, and you can scan the QR code on the screen. And I will see you wonderful people tomorrow, where we're finally going to have some press conference information to speak about as well. We're going to know whether Arne Slot has Alisson back available for the weekend, and lots of other bits and pieces as well. So much love to you all. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'll see you tomorrow.